3 pros, 2 cons, 1 buying advice. Today, let's talk about this phone. The iQOO Z11 Turbo. Yes, it is a brand new model. First, let's take a look at the design. The overall build has a relatively squared-off design. As for the size, it is slightly smaller than your typical Pro or large-screen models, but it is not quite in the small-screen category, like the OnePlus 13T or the Xiaomi 17. It sits right in the middle ground. It features a 6.59-inch display. The color I have here has a certain texture on the back. Under certain lighting, it is quite visible, resembling a satin finish. The front also follows the current trend of using a large R-angle design. The corners of this screen have a very slight curvature, but it is a flat display. The screen is in a state where it sits slightly above the frame. The price starts at 2,399 RMB. Alright, now let's get into the details. 3 pros. First, the build quality and feel are genuinely impressive. The camera deco design is quite clean and minimalist, and it features a raised metal platform. First, it looks great. Second, it feels premium to the touch. The overall texture of the device is excellent. It uses a metal frame. Both its aesthetics and build quality are definitely top-notch. In particular, regarding the color I'm holding, I personally think it doesn't look as good as the other 3 solid colors. I still prefer a clean solid color design. There are 4 colors available this time, but it is worth noting that the black version features a fiberglass back cover. In terms of texture, it falls short of the other 3 glass models. Personally, I believe glass looks best in solid colors. Plastic uses patterns to mask deficiencies in texture. With glass, a solid color brings out a more premium feel. The second advantage is its ergonomic size, and how it precisely fits into this specific market segment. The side bezels are quite narrow. I personally have small hands, like most female users, whose hands are roughly the same size as mine. You can see that it's quite easy to reach the far edge of the screen. Looking closely at the front bezels, the sides are very thin, but the top and bottom bezels aren't quite as slim. The bottom chin is visibly wider than the side bezels. It is roughly the same width as the sides, but if you look really closely, it's still just a tiny bit thicker. If we look at recent smartphone releases, or even look back over the last 6 months, you'll notice that the 6.59-inch size is neither too large nor too small, sitting right between the standard and Pro Max sizes. This is a very rare form factor, combined with this pink color option, and its excellent overall build quality. It stands out in its price range. It offers both a unique color and a unique size. In my view, this makes it a very precisely positioned product. The third advantage is its rich set of peripheral features for the price. It offers many experiences rarely found at this price level. The attention to detail is a major plus. For instance, the build quality I mentioned earlier, followed by the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, full-featured NFC, symmetrical dual speakers, and the haptic motor, iQOO Z11 Turbo. The haptic motor performs quite well this time. Given the device's size, the motor specs might not be top tier, but it doesn't feel loose or springy during use. It's still crisp and reliable. For a mid-range, performance-oriented phone like this, that's quite rare. Oh, and regarding this 200MP main camera, honestly, for a phone with this positioning, most people don't take the camera specs too seriously. Usually, expectations aren't very high. That includes the 2 rear lenses. One is an 8MP ultra wide angle, which is definitely just a filler. It really is. However, the 200MP HP5 main camera does expand its versatility. After all, the core resolving power is genuinely there. Even when you crop the image, the sharpness and overall usability remain very high. Then there are the details, like the charger, 100W, fast charging, and it uses a C2C cable. In terms of these details, it is a very hassle-free experience. Alright, that wraps up the 3 pros. Now, let's talk about the cons. There are 2 main drawbacks. The first is the LCD screen. As expected, there are no surprises. It hasn't made a comeback on the iQOO Z11 Turbo. I'm actually quite disappointed by this. Of course, we know that. With an LCD, you wouldn't get such slim bezels, or such an excellent hand feel, or this precisely positioned size. But iQOO Z series has such a strong legacy with LCDs. They were like the last champions of high-quality LCDs. I still hope that under the iQOO brand, new LCD models will eventually emerge to give LCD enthusiasts an option. After all, LCD still has its unique advantages. As someone in the industry, I hope to see more variety in the market. The second disadvantage concerns the processor. To be fair, I don't think this is necessarily iQOO's fault. In the 2,500 yuan price range, with an Antutu score of around 3.3 million, it is perfectly fine in terms of value for money. The issue actually lies with Qualcomm. When this processor was first announced, I found it quite baffling. It is named the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5. Even previous names like the 835, 845, 888, and 8 Gen 1 through 3, the naming is very misleading. It makes you think that this Snapdragon 8 Gen 5 is a top-tier flagship chip. But that is actually not the case. The true flagship title now belongs to the 8 Elite. The 8 Gen X branding has actually been effectively downgraded. It is no longer the flagship tier. But due to long-term market conditioning and established consumer habits, it leads people to believe that it sounds like a flagship. This can be quite misleading for some consumers. Regarding the actual performance of this device, you might think you're getting incredible value, right? Buying a super flagship chip. The latest flagship chip at just the 2,500 yuan price point. But in reality, its performance is decent, but not as stellar as you might imagine. After all, the 8 Gen 5 has significant cuts to its cache. To be clear, it handles competitive games without any issues. After all, it has a 144Hz screen, and the performance is sufficient. But during long, high-load gaming sessions, it tends to struggle in the later stages. Now, for the buying advice. The advice remains what I mentioned earlier. Its market positioning is very precise. This specific size and this color are unique at this price point. For performance-oriented users with smaller hands and a limited budget, who also value build quality, this is definitely worth considering. After all, there really aren't many devices in this specific niche right now. But if we're judging strictly by performance, the iQOO Z11 Turbo is indeed overshadowed by its competitor, the Honor Win RT, especially when it comes to the battery. Honor holds a very significant advantage in the battery department. However, in terms of size, appearance, and build quality, iQOO definitely has its own unique strengths. So, if this video has helped you better understand the iQOO Z11 Turbo, even just a little, please remember to like and follow. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.